Hello, 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 hello. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. This is Jordan Chariton, live to you from New York City. It is, what is today, Jen? Thursday? Wednesday, August 22nd. That's when you know you're busy, when you don't even know the day of the week or the date. Let me make sure I am live on all the corporate censors. Excuse me. I am live on Periscope. I am live on YouTube, and I believe live on the Facebook. Please press the share button. Let's get the party started because unfortunately, these days are different and not always easily accessible when your favorite hosts or networks are live. You don't always see it right away. So, hope everyone is having a lovely day. As always on YouTube, this is a super chat, so you're able to support my journalism right there in the super chat. If you can't support with a monetary contribution, feel free to press the share button. And if you haven't, oh, my favorite troll, Jerry Ross, just joined the party. Hi, Jerry. I'll be sending you a Status Coup hat in the mail, Jerry. Send me your address so I could make sure to know where you live and that you work for the Dakota Access Pipeline. So, few public service announcements. I wasn't going to do a live stream today because my business partner, Jen, is with me in New York, and we are actively working on some business planning because very, very soon we're going to be launching statuscoup.com and Status Coup. If you haven't noticed, I'm wearing a hat. Obviously, I don't look good in hats, but that doesn't prevent me from shamefully or shamelessly wearing one. So this is the Status Coup hat, and there are also shirts. So there's going to be some free swag coming viewers' way when we launch this company. And I'm going to be getting to, a little bit later in the live stream, I'm going to be getting at ways you can help us build Status Coup. Because honestly, the only way to build an independent media company is through the viewers, both through the viewers funding financially, as well as volunteering, as well as making sure to plug in and share content as we're live. So it's ironic because I was going to do this live stream today telling you how you could help, specifically financially, help us get off the ground. When I saw the really, really disturbing news that the Trump administration, through sanctions, specifically sanctions on Venezuela, is essentially shutting down one of the premier journalists, in my opinions, ability to report. If you don't know me too well, Jen could tell you how I view things. There's very, very few journalists that I actually respect. I don't say that because I'm great. I don't think that. It's because I've been out in the field enough to know that there's such a lack of real journalism. When I say real journalism, I'm talking about journalists who sacrifice large chunks of their life, large chunks of their safety, and sacrifice all the bells and whistles. Journalists who don't do this so that they could climb a ladder. Journalists who don't do this so that they can get to a certain amount of Twitter followers or Facebook followers or wealth and press the share button to get this out. Journalists who actually have a righteous anger and a righteous indignation about injustice, about corruption. Journalists who don't only want to stand there as robots and say, well, this side says this side says this, we're neutral, aka I get paid a lot of money to not tell you the truth, you figure it out. There's very few journalists out there that do that. That's why I think when I was at the Young Turks, I had a little success at building an audience because, frankly, over and over again, when I was out on the road in the field, I'd get the same exact comment to me. I remember being at the People's Summit. I would get the same exact comments to me. There's nobody else doing this. And I didn't take that to be about me, because honestly, you could replace me with another aggressive, angry, truthful, and authentic person. I'm not something special. What I'm getting at is the hunger and the desperation out there from real people who are getting screwed by the government, who are getting screwed by corporate America, who are getting screwed by their public servants. Their people are desperate. I mean, you should see the messages I get. People are desperate. So when I advocate, or when I go live to speak about a journalist who's under attack, it's because I really, really respect them, and I've seen their work. And that's why, even though I wasn't going to go live today, I wanted to go live about what's going on with Abby Martin. So if you're not familiar with Abby Martin, and full disclosure, I've only met Abby once. She interviewed me the night of the election, actually. I believe she was in New York. I was reporting when I was at the Young Turks, and she interviewed me. She was there. So I've only spoke with her once. I don't believe we've spoken other than that. And I've followed her work as best as I can. I've listened to a few of her podcasts. I've seen some of her work at Empire Files. And honestly, Abby is more brave than I am. Abby Martin has gone into war zones. Abby Martin has had not just death threats like through her inbox, but literally the chance of dying like imminently where she is reporting in places like Venezuela, in places like Gaza or Israel. This is like a tough reporter. And the thing I like about Abby Martin the most, and if you don't know, I should have led with this, but the Trump administration, their sanctions are basically blocking Abby's ability and her staff, her crew, that puts on Empire Files, which is a great, great show. It's a weekly show on Jen. It's called Telesur. Yeah. Telesur English, which is funded by many countries, including Venezuela. Basically, the Trump's sanctions have made it so they cannot even get payments through to pay for the staff and put on the production. I'm sure you know, media costs money. So she is asking for help, and I'm going to read that. But I just wanted to, before I got into like what's going on with her or how you could help her, I wanted to tell you that I think Abby, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't directly reached out to her, but when Jen and I were talking about launching Status Coup, which, again, if you're coming to this late, we're trying to launch this mid-September, our website. That's the plan. Abby Martin's the first person I even said to Jen, do you think we can get Abby Martin? I doubt she's watching this, but that's what I thought. Because to me, I personally, my passion is more domestic coverage. But don't think I'm blind to the atrocities going on around the world, particularly sponsored and launched and led by the United States empire. So Abby Martin's someone I greatly respect. I think, frankly, I could learn a lot from her because I think she's such a badass reporter. And what I think is so impressive about Abby Martin, you know, I think that people could tell who's authentic and who is not. And I watched Abby Martin on Joe Rogan's podcast. I don't know when she was on, but I just saw it a few weeks ago. And she was talking about her disdain for, actually it was Vice News, which is funny. And she was talking about how they're posers and they're frauds. And, oh, Ty has a penchant for calling me while I'm live. Jen, can you tell Ty I'm live? She was talking about why she doesn't like Vice and thinks they're posers and frauds. And what you get from Abby, frankly, she just doesn't give a damn. Not because she's reckless, not because she just talks crap on people, not because she just throws bombs, but because she's a truth teller. She's a truth teller, right? She doesn't care. Most journalists in this country play it safe. They're all about going from one outlet to a bigger outlet, to a bigger outlet, getting more Twitter followers, getting more following, rising and being able to be seen more. Because at the end of the day, I got news for you. Most journalists are deeply, deeply insecure people. And a lot of it is not telling truth to power. A lot of it is raising their own profiles and filling a void. I know this because I've worked in local television. I've worked at Fox News. Got stories about that. I've worked at MSNBC. I've worked at other digital outlets where I wrote, and I've met a crap load of people that are quote-unquote journalists. So I am leading this by basically saying I think Abby Martin is one of the premier journalists, not in the United States, in the world. In the world. I don't know her. We've never had a conversation other than her interviewing me in New York on election night. But what I get from Abby Martin, she does not do this for money. What I get from Abby Martin is she doesn't do this for vanity. I think Abby Martin does it because she's pissed off at the atrocities the United States is doing and launching and leading around the world. She's pissed off at the alternative reality that people have about the United States. There is a notion, widespread, definitely among Republicans, definitely among Democrats, but America is an exceptional nation. America is a beacon of freedom and a shining city in a hill and all the propaganda that you see. And I think there's a lot of decent things about America, but I also think there's a lot of fairy tales about America, and that's what Abby Martin does. She disrupts and debunks the fairy tales about America. Because the truth is, you want to talk about Russia, quote, interfering in our democracy? America has literally engineered and re-engineered the entire geopolitical world over the last century by toppling dictators, democratically elected leaders around the world that were democratically elected but weren't good for the United States business interests. Abby could tell it a lot better than I can. So press the share button, get this out to more people. We need to support Abby Martin. So let me read to you, if you're not familiar, what is going on with Abby Martin. I'm just going to straight up read the press release because it's better than me trying to describe it. So this is from her website, Media Roots, which I believe is a company, I think. Headline, U.S. Sanctions shut down the Empire Files with Abby Martin for immediate release. Empire Files is temporarily appealing for donations on a one-time and monthly basis. And Jen, could you put the link to this press release?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, so the link to the press release is in the chat. Appealing for donations on a one-time and monthly basis to continue production in the midst of U.S. attacks on the Telesur network. Telesur is the network that the Empire Files, her program, broadcasts on. As a result of U.S. sanctions against Venezuela, the Empire Files has been forced to completely shut down operations. The Empire Files, which airs on Telesur throughout Latin America and on Free Speech TV and the Real News Network in the United States, has been funded through a contract with the Telesur network. As Abby Martin's primary broadcast, it has released over 100 documentaries, interviews on the ground, exposés from battlefields in Palestine, Venezuela, and beyond. As a result of financial attacks by the U.S. government on the primary source of Telesur's funding, production was halted before the completion of Empire Files Season 2. Season 3, contracted for 26 episodes, was scheduled to begin on July 1st. But with the U.S. government blocking wire transfers that originate in Venezuela, the ability to receive funding has not been made possible. For over a year, funding has been sporadic and often delayed. The Empire Files has been operating by alternating between waiting for late payments and funding production out of pocket. However, with U.S. attacks and sanctions intensifying, the ability to receive funds appears to have been cut off completely. Contract Telesur journalists elsewhere, including at Empire Files, have had funding blocked by the U.S. government for over 6 months. Even wire transfers not originating in Venezuela, but ally countries which also fund Telesur, have been severed. There appears to be no solution and no end in sight to this ongoing financial attack. The Empire Files officially halted all production on May 27th and had to cut all staff prior to that. But we have been holding off on an official account in hopes that the wall put in place by the Trump administration would be overcome. We are making this announcement now because after numerous attempts and constant reactions of all types of fund transfers, we do not believe this barrier will be removed in the near future. Before I read on, I just want to add something so you understand the gravity of this. And please, please, please press the share button, get this out to as many people as you can. And if you're coming to this late on YouTube, this is a super chat, so feel free, if you got a couple bucks, if you like what I'm saying, to support me and Status Coup. Why this is really important is, bottom line, let's keep it real. Osama bin Laden's main objective on 9/11 was not only terrorism, was not only obstructing the United States government or free speech or any of those things. He's on record saying his main objective in launching 9/11 was to bankrupt the U.S. That's how you strangle anything. That's why many people who advocate for black equality, Black Lives Matter. By the way, to be clear, not comparing Osama bin Laden with that. Two distinctions. But the point is, whether it's for evil purposes, like terrorism, or great purposes, like Black Lives Matter, the main way you affect change in this world, change for the worse or change for the better, is through the pockets. It's through financial means. Financial terrorism, financial oppression, financial strangulation, financial everything. So what the Trump administration is doing, and by the way, as the press release will tell you, a lot of this started under Obama. It's not like it's gotten way worse under Trump, but a lot of this, I mean, the United States basically trying to do a coup d'etat in Venezuela, basically. So what the Trump administration is trying to do with these sanctions is basically financially strangle the truth, financially destroy brave journalists like Abby Martin's ability to report. Abby Martin offers her opinions and commentary, but what she's doing in the field in Venezuela, in some countries where she could lose her life, her crew could lose their lives, is reporting and showing you the truth in her own charismatic and factual way. So that's what you need to understand. The Trump administration, and we also see this, not just, look at the landscape. We see, Abby Martin's page for Telesur, I believe, got taken down on Facebook for a while and then put it back up. We've seen other independent journalists, YouTube strangling advertisement, Facebook, same thing. I mean, it takes a long time to even get responses from YouTube if you're not CNN or one of these players. So whether it's the Trump administration trying to basically shut down reporting like Abby Martin, or it's YouTube or Facebook, basically the cat's out of the bag, folks. This train has left the station. They are trying to shut down independent journalists, real reporting, and fearless reporting that has no connections and no chains attached to corporations. They are trying to shut down reporters that do not work for corporate stations. They are trying to shut down reporters that do their own thing, that don't answer to reporters, that don't answer to Comcast, that don't answer to AT&T, that don't answer to Turner. So you want to talk about Russia attacking American democracy? The very idea, which is an idea because it hasn't existed in a while, the very idea of America is free speech and freedom of the press. Well, if the actual press that's actually covering real news, that's actually rolling up their sleeves and going out in the field, and I can tell you because I've been out in the field, not in Venezuela, not abroad, but here in America, in some areas that were kind of like war zones, there's not a lot of us. Abby Martin's one of the jewels. So, bottom line is, Trump administration, what they're doing is trying to financially silence truth tellers. Period, end of story. Let me continue. Jen, could you bring the charger here? The depth of U.S. attacks. The U.S. State Department has been involved in regime change projects in Venezuela since the election of the late President Hugo Chavez, first expressed by a violent coup in 2002. During that coup, Venezuela's state media and pro-government media were shut down by the U.S.-backed junta. Yet economic sanctions on Venezuela were not implemented until the Obama administration in 2015. The Trump administration has taken these sanctions to new heights. The most recent escalation came on May 21, 2018, the day after President Maduro democratically won re-election. Keyword, democratically won re-election. Apparently to punish the Venezuelan people for electing the, quote, wrong candidate. So again, Trump sanctions, new sanctions, escalated sanctions, came the day after President Maduro was democratically reelected. Today, the U.S. sanctions on Venezuela are the worst sanctions on any country in the region since those against Nicaragua in the 1980s, according to Mark Weisbrod of the Center for Economic and Policy Research, a time when the Reagan administration was waging a full-blown bloody war against the Nicaraguan people. Similarly, it's Venezuela's poor and working class who are by design suffering most from the sanctions today. These economic attacks cannot be viewed on their own, but part and parcel of a regime change operation. While this is just one front in the U.S. strategy, the sanctions are coupled with violent U.S.-backed coup attempts in Venezuela, including the August 4th assassination attempts on President Maduro. Telesur has always been included as a target for its association with the government. A thwarted U.S.-backed coup plot in 2015 included plans to bomb the Telesur News building in Caracas. In 2017, a Telesur news team was ambushed by U.S.-backed opposition forces and nearly lynched. One Telesur reporter was shot in the back during the assault. Likewise, Abby Martin and Empire Files producer Mike Prisner were the target of pro-coup politicians and journalists based in Caracas and Miami, leading to hundreds of death threats and causing them to flee Venezuela, where they were conducting on-the-ground reporting. In addition, Telesur, along with the other main left-wing news source on Venezuela, Venezuela Analysis, were recently targets of online censorship. Already hit with, quote, warnings and, quote, sensitive content bans on YouTube and Twitter, their pages were recently deleted, although later reinstated by Facebook. This was the second time the Telesur English page was removed without warning or explanations by Facebook. Facebook is currently collaborating with the Atlantic Council, stacked with CIA agents, Iraq war architects, big oil, and the weapons industry to decide which media outlets, quote, sow discord. And by the way, just a little history lesson on Facebook, and the Facebook will probably throttle me even more because I'm live on Facebook right now. The head of news partnerships, quote unquote, news partnerships for Facebook is a woman by the name of Campbell Brown. She used to be an anchor at CNN. She was at a panel conference for Facebook, basically announcing Facebook's intention to suppress independent news, or as they say, less trustworthy news. So that is Campbell Brown and Facebook deciding what is trustworthy news and which is non-trustworthy news. Well, let me tell you who Campbell Brown is married to. Dan Senor, one of the main architects in George W. Bush's Iraq War. So, again, in fairness, she's married to him. I don't know if she had any involvement in that. I doubt it. She is married to a man who played a key role in launching the most disastrous war, other than Vietnam, in the United States history that was based on, what's the opposite of trustworthy, Jen? Lies? So the head of Facebook news partnerships, who I would assume is instrumental in deciding what's newsworthy, what's not, because Facebook is now the arbiter of what's newsworthy. The very outlet who, quote unquote, allowed all this fake news. They're the arbiter. And I'm sure I'll be censored and demonetized or kicked off Facebook, but to hell with it. She's married to Dan Senor. Look up who Dan, S-E-N-O-R, is. pretty sure she shouldn't be deciding what's trustworthy and what's not. I digress. Back to Abby Martin. Press the share button. Let's get this out to more people. With only rhetoric of increased aggression coming from the Trump administration, including threats of all-out U.S. military bombing and invasion, there is no reason to think this multi-pronged attack will subside. The future of Empire Files. Again, Empire Files is Abby Martin's program on Telesur. The entire Empire Files team, which has included a variety of dedicated videographers, editors, animators, graphic designers, composers, audio engineers, writers, researchers, interns, and more, has spent nearly 3 years doing dedicated, rigorous, and sometimes life-threatening work to deliver a high-quality, politically important show once a week. From the hidden casualties on the U.S.-Mexico border to environmental disasters in the endangered rainforest, the most viewed reporting on the crisis in Venezuela, interviews with President Rafael Correa, Cornel West, Noam Chomsky, Ahed Taimi, and other important figures, profiles of often unheard voices of migrant domestic workers, young revolutionary activists, immigrant children, hurricane victims, third-party candidates, and more, to in-depth educational documentaries on socialism, the crimes of the U.S. empire, and histories and crises hidden by the mainstream media. The Empire Files has been extremely proud to make this small contribution to a broader movement for change. And they're being humble. It's not a small contribution. It's a big contribution. But we do not intend to stop this project as long as there are possibilities to continue. We are prepared to resume production of weekly programs for Telesur as soon as blocks of funding are lifted or circumvented. However, this could mean 6 months, a year, or never. We know our colleagues at Telesur have been fighting for a solution for us and other contractors, and we will continue to do so, and will continue to do so. In the meantime, we are appealing to our supporters for donations on a one-time basis or as monthly sustainers to restart production, rehire staff, and release new episodes for as long as funding permits. Current expenses include $6,000 for Empire Files journalists in Gaza. Unreleased Empire Files content from Gaza and Colombia. In the immediate term, we hope to raise enough funds to complete post-production on our recent unreleased footage. More importantly, our urgent footage and interviews captured by Empire Files journalists in Palestine's besieged Gaza Strip. This includes never-before-seen footage of the Great March of Return, including new instances of brutality by Israeli forces against unarmed protesters at the border fence, interviews with the family of slain medic Razan al-Najjar, and wounded medical workers, and much more. In addition, we have hours of unreleased footage of Abby Martin on the ground in Colombia's peace zones, quote, peace zones, featuring interviews with FARC leaders and members and a rare first-hand look at the country's historic peace process as it hangs in the balance after the victory of the far right in the June 17th presidential election. If we raise enough money to cover the cost of releasing all of this important content over a span of several episodes, we can then dedicate funds to new filming and production that is not subject to attacks by the Pentagon. This includes documentaries on everything from Trump's war machine to the hidden repression of environmental activists. We ask for your support to expose the crimes of the U.S. empire at this critical time, as well as your solidarity with Telesur and Venezuela's right to self-determination. And then it has click here to make a one-time donation on GoFundMe. Let's see what that's at. They're at $4,361 of their $25,000 goal. There you go. And they also have click here to become a monthly sustainer on Patreon, and that is at 66 patrons. I don't believe the dollar amount is there. So, Listen, it's hard enough to get people to fund me, right? So I'm going to keep it real right now, folks, and I'm just going to tell you how it is. There's realities in life, right? We all have to think of ourselves first. Even if you're somebody who thinks of your family first or your friends first, and sometimes at fault, sometimes you put other people before your own needs. At the end of the day, we all need shelter, food, clothing, and what's the fourth one? Shelter, food, clothing, water. Oh, duh, water. But so obviously for the people watching me now, and by the way, as a reminder, this channel is being suppressed. This channel is being throttled. I have over 14,000 subscribers. I'm routinely going live to 50 people live, 100 people live. Let's see on Facebook. I have over 20,000 likes. I'm live to 15 people on Facebook. I mean, these are the realities. It's not just the U.S. government and sanctions. It's corporate, quote, digital and social media. They're really corporate channels now. YouTube is FewTube. It caters to the few, which are CNN, The Washington Post, MSNBC, and other corporate channels that their advertisers like. Even traditionally independent outlets. I won't bother with that. So the bottom line is, you have to decide what is the priorities for you. If you want to be informed, if you want truth, not only truth to inform yourself, but truth to inform your family, your friends. Word of mouth still exists in the United States and the world. If you want real reporting, you no longer can get it for free. No other way to put it. If you want real reporting, I'm not talking about the New York Times and their endless sea of nonsense and drip and the horse race and, you know, Russians and Stormy Daniels and all that stuff that really, they create their content really for each other. The New York Times, the Washington Post, all these outlets really are creating content mostly for each other's entertainment. Because let me tell you something, the people in Flint, East Chicago, St. Louis, Baltimore, all over the country where you're watching, is your first priority when you wake up Paul Manafort or Michael Cohen or Russian bots? Thank you, Karen Webster, $5 on the super chat. As a reminder, this is a super chat, so if you're feeling super, drop some dough, baby. It helps us grow. So let me tell you something. I am going to put my own money into that GoFundMe. I don't have that much, but I'm going to do it. If what it takes, honestly, is me going out, instead of going out and buying a $4 iced coffee a day, to fund Abby Martin or to fund the other independent media outlets under attack, if it means me ordering in food instead of ordering in food, doing something I hate and going grocery shopping and cooking, that's what I'm going to do. If it means me having to, I don't know, I don't really have a lot of indulgencies, to be honest, but ordering empanada mama, my favorite food, if it means me ordering my favorite food once a month instead of 3 times a week, that's what I'm going to do. I can only tell you what I'm going to do. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you got to do what's best for you and your family. Unfortunately, Abby Martin can't be your first concern. Jordan and Status Coup can't be your first concern if you don't know if you're going to pay your rent or have groceries. And I understand that. I know she understands that. But if you have the bucks, let me tell you something, folks. If Abby Martin goes away, there's not a lot. I don't know any other Abby Martins out there. I really don't. Andrea, thank you, $4.99. Thanks for supporting Abby. I don't know many Abby Martins out there, male or female. Thrush, $10. Thank you very much. This sounds like the CIA had their hands all over this. I don't think it sounds like this. It sounds like that. I think they did. Come on, Thrush. Oh, speaking of, we should watch The Americans while you're here. Jen's off camera doing work. She's great. The bottom line is, what is your priority? Because I got news for you. Abby Martin goes away. When is the United States government going to say, you know what? We think Jimmy Dore is a threat to national security. I'm not exaggerating. We think Jimmy Dore is a threat to national security. We're going to shut down all his channels and we're going to bring him in for questioning. That day is not so far away. By the way, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying we're not so far off. If Abby Martin and Empire Files goes away, is the United States, when are they going to permanently try to shut down RT America? You know, the boogeyman, RT America, the Russians sponsor it, even though CNN, MSNBC, all these channels are basically state media.
Jordan, Periscopers want to know why it's Trump's fault, and so I explained. It's because the funds can't get to them.
Periscope, and anyone wondering why it's the Trump administration's fault, the Trump administration sanctions on Venezuela is blocking payments to Telesur staffers and Telesur production. So obviously payments don't, we don't pay hardcore cash. We're not the mafia. So you get paid through wire transfers and those kinds of things. Since Abby Martin's the broadcast Empire Files is under Telesur, which is heavily funded by the Venezuela government, since the sanctions by the Trump administration are cutting off the wire transfers that pay, I'm assuming, Abby Martin and the rest of the staff. That's why. But you know what? We also need to remember something, folks. You guys are busy. You guys watching, 106 of you on Facebook. I don't know how many are watching on Periscope. We got 50 on Periscope, 16 here. You guys are busy. So many of you probably didn't even know this today because you're busy, you're working 2 to 3 jobs, whatever. You're too busy to go back and keep checking Jordan Chariton's YouTube channel, or it's going to become Status Coup's YouTube channel, and keep having to check because you're not getting notifications when I'm live. You're too busy to see all day or every week or every month, where is Abby Martin? What's she doing? And if all the platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, are making sure you don't see these channels, forget me for a second, you don't see Abby Martin, making sure you don't see Jimmy Dore. And by the way, this is not something Jimmy told me, but this is just my observation. You ever notice Jimmy started doing, I believe, he started heavily doing Saturday super chats, weekend super chats where he's live. Again, this is not something he told me. This is just my guess because YouTube has been suppressing and demonetizing him. Everybody has had to go and do double and triple work because of corporate censorship. So my point is, it's going to become a day where out of sight, out of mind. Like, how would you know they shut down Abby Martin? Or, oh, I don't see Abby Martin's in my feed. I don't see Empire Files in my feed. Same thing with Jimmy Dore. How would you know? You don't have time to constantly refresh to see if Jimmy has a new video, or half the people don't even. Let me tell you something. And thank you, Decimergy, for $5. Quote, make shorter, more concise summary funding plea videos. More people view it that way. Thank you, Decimergy, but I'm not changing my style. Sorry. We do cut these videos up. We do cut these videos up into shorter videos, but this is the live stream. So I'm not really down with the Now This News style, 2.5 minute videos. So I keep it real. But thank you for the $5. I really appreciate that. The bottom line is this. Ty Bayless, $5, my stomach. Photojournalist and member of Status Coup, Ty Bayless, just left $5. He's got food poisoning. Air quotes, food poisoning. No, I believe it. But the point I'm trying to make to you, we're at the iceberg, folks. We're at the tipping point. Forget Alex Jones. That's a different story. The U.S. government And when I say the US government, it's not just the Trump administration. Essentially, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and these platforms that used to be where independent journalists could go up, tell their views, report their facts, report their truth, and if people wanted to watch, and if people liked their message, they would be able to see them. Those days are over, because essentially YouTube and Facebook, and to a lesser extent Twitter, are now part of the US government. Because the US government, as I always tell you, is the United Corporations of America. The United Corporations of America. So the US government works for the corporations. And YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter are those corporations. And Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and boy, am I going to get demonetized and censored and throttled for this one. They work for their advertisers. And who are those advertisers? Those advertisers pay the politicians. It's one sick revolving door. So I really hope I will put the link to the press release under this video. I will put the link to the press release under this video. And in that press release that Telesur put out, you could support GoFundMe for Abby and Empire Files, Patreon subscriber. And let me just show you her tweet, what she tweeted. After a coordinated assault against voices challenging U.S. imperialism, Trump's sanctions have effectively shut down Empire Files. Please help us keep going. There's much work to do. And she linked to the press release that I just read. So there you go. It's a time for choosing. Thank you, Cyril O'Reilly, $5. So I told you what I think of Abby Martin. I think she's amazing. Honestly, if I was just starting out in journalism, I would be trying to learn from Abby Martin, not Jordan Sheridan. I think she's amazing. I would love one day to work with her. A lot of people have asked me, get Abby Martin. You don't think I've thought of that? You don't think I've thought of that? I love Abby Martin. But, you know, that would be up to her if she would want to partner up on something. But I think what you need to realize here, this is about more than money. Obviously, it's about money because Abby needs money, her crew needs money, I need money, Status Quo is going to need money. This is really about, like, what is it on Star Wars? What do they say? The Empire Strikes Back?
That's one of the titles. May the Force be with you.
Okay. This is The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire, the U.S. government, its corporate censors, all this. The Empire is striking back. That is what the Trump administration is doing by sanctioning Venezuela and by extension, cutting off Abby Martin and Empire Files funding. That is what YouTube is doing. When YouTube gets, complaints from its advertisers, that's the empire. Their advertisers are the corporations that buy off the politicians. So the empire is striking back. When CNN, which basically is state media, regurgitates whatever the government says, when CNN does a story, what did they say Jimmy was? A radical leftist in their story? This is all part of the empire saying, holy crap, there's this explosion of progressivism. There's this explosion of people who want income equality. There's this explosion of people who want black people to be able to not only be safe, but also make equal money to white people. There's this explosion of people who want, like, women to be able to have equal money. There's this, and rights. There's this explosion of people in America who feel, you know what? We need to stop selling our jobs to other countries. We need to bring back the jobs so we could have them. There's an explosion of people who are saying, you know what? It doesn't really make sense that my politician takes all this money from Boeing and Raytheon and Comcast and Goldman Sachs. Why are they taking this money? People are starting to wake up, and as a result, the empire is trying to put them to sleep. Write that down. People are starting to wake up, and as a result, the empire is trying to put them to sleep.
Brilliant.
So you're either gonna stand there as viewers, as readers, as people who want truth, and go to sleep, and let Abby Martin, Empire Files, and real journalism be strangled and suffocated and killed, or you're going to help her fight back. So I will be going to her GoFundMe and contributing. I will become a Patreon subscriber to Abby Martin.
You already are.
I am?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Perfect. And I implore 107 people watching, I implore each one of you to do the same. I really do. Actually, today, I was actually planning on introducing our new sponsorship page and basically telling you a lot of the same things I told you today about why we need your help. But I'm actually not going to do that. I thought differently. I want this to be about Abby. So I am going to be live tomorrow. Jen, what time? Live tomorrow?
I don't know. We have a Q&A at 7.
I'm going to be live tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. West Coast Time. So if you don't get a notification, write it down. I'm going to be live tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to introduce to you what we at Status Coup are trying to do, and frankly, ask you for help to do that. I was going to do that today, but I don't want to talk about Status Coup and what we need, because this is about Abby Martin, real reporting, and the empire striking back. And, full disclosure, I said it at the beginning, if you came late, I've only spoken with Abby Martin once. I haven't spoken with her today. We're not like friends, not through animosity. I just never really talked to her. She interviewed me once, and that's been that. So this was unprovoked. Like, I wasn't asked to do this. I just really believe, because I've been at Standing Rock, I've been to Flint, I've been to East Chicago, and if you think there is a lack of reporting on the real truth going on in America, the selling off of our government, the total submission to corporate America, the total oppression of black people, of brown people, of indigenous people, of gay, handicapped, it goes on. If you think there's suppression and oppression of what's going on in the United States, think about suppression of what's going on around the world. Thank you, Phantom 3. Left, I think that's $20, not sure, said, save Abby. Abby Martin's passion in life, it's not a career to her, it's a life purpose, is to shine a light on what America is causing, the suffering and the oppression America is causing around the world. My passion happens to be domestically, but it's the same principle. We both want to shine a light on the truth. And I am an advocacy journalist. I don't want to speak for Abby Martin. I don't know what she labels herself, but I think she has a clear point of view. But you could be a journalist and advocate for something as long as your facts are right, as long as you're clear about who you are. Abby Martin's clear about who she is, and from what I can see, I don't think her reporting has been questioned. Her facts have been questioned. Huh? She was in the DNI report. So the bottom line is, folks, it's corny, and I try not to quote. Who said this? Be the change you want to see in the world? Somebody said, be the change you want to see in the world. I don't know who it was, but I believe in it. So you could be the change you want to see in the world. Let me tell you something. I don't want to speak for Abby or Empire Files, and trust me, I gain nothing financially from doing this. But even if you leave, I don't know, $5, $10 at her GoFundMe, if you become a Patreon at whatever the level is, that collectively adds up where she could keep telling the truth. If you happen to be a viewer right now with more than that, and you're thinking, oh, you've been thinking about taking a vacation or something, well, maybe think about what's more important, your vacation or freedom of the press and truth. I ain't trying to give you the Jewish guilt. I'm just saying. We all need to rally together. And I would hope that if what happened to Abby today and Empire Files was happening to me, people would do it the same. Because let me tell you something, folks. I am someone who has a real disdain for frauds. I am somebody who has a real disdain for posers and people who pretend to be something they're not. Abby Martin's pretty authentic from what I could see. Tommy Bayless, $1.99, will become a Patreon for Abby. And as somebody, honestly, if I'm keeping it real, as somebody who in the not so distant past has been smeared and has had falsehoods spread about him to a point that it temporarily paralyzed me personally and professionally, I think we need truth tellers out there. I really do. Because if not, this country and the fascism that's taking over will be accelerated. So that's my spiel for today. I got nothing else. I'm not going to report on anything else today. As soon as I get off here, I am going to donate to Abby's GoFundMe. I don't want to say Abby's GoFundMe because it's Empire Files, her broadcast. It's not Abby Martin personally. It's the Empire Files GoFundMe and Patreon. So I'm going to do it, and I hope you'll consider it too. I will be live tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. I want to tell you about something else happening tomorrow. At 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be doing a video call with my patrons. If you don't know, patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. That's a lovely arts and crafts sign. Jen, you filled that in, right?
No. Okay, the status quo one.
Huh?
The status quo poster.
Oh, yes. So, 1 second. So, I will be live at 7 o'clock with a video chat with my patrons. We are one away, I believe, from 400. I am one away from 400. Yes, it is a Patreon exclusive chat. You can become a Patreon subscriber for as low as $1 per month to me. There are different levels, and at each level you get different things. So I will be live through video chat with my Patreon subscribers tomorrow at 7 p.m. Jen will be here with me. We'll be giving you behind the scenes of our plans for Status Coup, answering your questions, whatever you want. I'm an open book. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you're going to get a message how you could join. So I hope that's good. 7 p.m. Eastern. I really hope you'll join me because honestly, we're also in desperate need of volunteers, ideas, and I want feedback. And I also want to debut our new sign. The Status Coup will be giving the microphone back to the people. Tell me if that shows up in the shot, Jen.
I don't have that much.
Giving the microphone back to the people. There you see the microphone, and you see our logo. And guess what? I didn't pay a pollster. I didn't pay market research to come up with that slogan. We came up on it on our own because we're authentic, and we don't give a damn what the pollsters have to say. So, I shouldn't say pollsters. I mean the marketing assholes. So, as I bid you adieu, remember, most people are not lacking compassion. Most people don't know what the beep is going on. Good night.